Again, we'll go ahead and say welcome, everyone. We're so excited you're here. Welcome to the Graduate Programs Open House. This specifically is the International Admissions session. My name is Daniel Marschner. I'm the Director of International Admission at LMU, and so I'm really excited that you're here with us today. We have a phenomenal panel of current international graduate students who are going to share a little bit about their experiences on campus, and we'd love to hear from you as well. And so there is on the webinar, the Q&A function. And so we definitely encourage you, if you have any questions for them, to use that function, and we're happy to address the questions as we go. But really, this is an opportunity for you to hear directly from our students about their experiences on campus, about what it's like to be an international graduate student. And so I really hope that you take advantage of this fantastic opportunity. So with that being said, if we could, we'll go ahead and have the panelists introduce. Where would you like to go first? And so if you could you please tell us your name, where you're from, what country you're from, and what program you're in? And also, what was it about LMU? Why did you choose to come to LMU to study?
I can start. So my name is Fiori. I'm from the Netherlands. I go to the film school, just like Aditi. I was about to go into my third year and final year of the film program, but I'm currently taking a leave of absence, and I'm in the Netherlands right now, but I really hope to be back in the spring. So my main reason for coming to LMU was the film school, because it is ranked pretty high. It's in LA, which is kind of the city to be at if you want to do something in film. But also because I applied to multiple film schools in Los Angeles, and eventually I picked LMU because I remember going on their website, and it was advocating a lot for diversity and inclusivity and equality. And I felt like, as a creative, open-minded storyteller, that's a type of environment that I want to be in. And so far, I've been at LMU for 2 years, and I feel like they do really stand for that, for diversity and inclusivity, especially in these past few months with everything that has been going on. You can tell that LMU truly stands for that. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I personally chose to go to LMU.
Great, thank you, Fiori. Mansi, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mansi Prajapati. I'm from India, and this is my second semester in LMU. My major is computer science. The main reason for choosing LMU is the course curriculum for me, as I'm a computer science student, and LMU provide a latest course for machine learning, artificial intelligence, and NLP kind of course. And this is really good for the student. And these courses are latest for a market, which is when you complete your graduation and when you start searching for a job, you can easily get it because it's completely new concept. Second thing is the research assistantship and on-campus opportunity in LMU. It's a variety of opportunity. You can interact with the employees, staff, students, and professor. So it's good to, as an international student, for us to gain a lot of knowledge and experience here. Third reason, when I search in website in LMU, I find many features, events, and different kind of activities in LMU that is quite good for new students. And yes, and third reason, when I talk with admission department, I'm so confused first, but when I talk with them and I realize they are so friendly and they always ready to help us. So there are many reasons to choose LMU. Thank you.
Thank you. Aditi, you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I'm Aditi. I'm an international student from India as well, and I'm in the same film cohort as Fiori, as I said before. The reason I wanted to join LMU was when I first wanted to join a film school, my primary interest was documentaries, but LMU has a flexible option to do both narrative films and documentaries depending upon the semester you're in. And that really cemented the decision for me. And the pleasant surprise that I had when I started speaking to various admission office members as well as members of the Office of International Students was that they were really open and really friendly and willing to help. And if you had like a specific problem, they were willing to sort of change their options accordingly. And like Fiore said, there's really a lot of attention paid to diversity and inclusivity. And even if they're not perfect, like no one is perfect, they really do try and keep a high standard for themselves in order to aspire to that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, as and for those of you in the audience, would love to hear from you. And so I encourage you to use the question and answer box to ask any questions for our students directly. One of those questions we've received is thinking more about the international student community at LMU. You've all kind of spoke about that a little bit. What is that like, and how do you interact with students? And also, can you talk about how international students and domestic students interact on campus as well? Fiore, do you want to respond to those questions?
Yeah. So yeah, I can really vouch mainly for the film school community. As in the graduate school, the departments are pretty separate. But what I think is great about grad school in general is that each department is very small. So within your department, it will very quickly feel like a little bit of a family. And then within the international community, in that, I feel like it feels even more like a little family because, for example, in the film school, I think about 30% is international, if not more. And there's just like, first of all, it's great to just be in contact with different cultures from all over the world. And there is always a difference between international students versus domestic students. Like international students will just have to naturally go through different things, like all the paperwork you have to go through and little things like being away from your family, having to start a new phone plan, having like 2 or 3 different phone numbers, like just little details. Among international students, it's just immediately understood. You don't have to explain it. And I think that is what immediately pulls you to other international students. So I personally feel closer to international students more quickly than domestic students. But when it comes to like campus life, I don't think there is a difference between domestic students and international students. Like it goes very well together. Everyone accepts each other, and most of the time Americans really love learning about other cultures because most of them have never left America before. And yeah, so I think on school and within the film school especially, there's a lot of inclusivity among the international students. I don't know if that's answers
great. Yeah,
the question.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mansi, would you like to answer the same question?
Sure. Well, LME has a culture diversity, and you can find every country student here. And it's so friendly here. We study all together and celebrate festivals and events together. And it's kind of, we feel that we back to our country. As well as we have many groups like SASA for a South Asian group, where we come together and hang out, and that's party, and we watch movie together. And also there is a GS LMU, that is there are mentors available who can help you in each and every problem for international students. So there are many groups, they are ready to help to each and every step. So yes, LM is a great opportunity for international students.
Thank you. Aditi?
Yeah, just to echo of what both these guys have said, I personally encountered very friendly people, both international students and students who are from the US. And the Americans in general, whom I've spoken to, are very open and very willing to understand the difficulties sometimes we might have adjusting to certain aspects of the culture over here, including the paperwork and the hoops that we have to jump through. I've had people be more sympathetic than otherwise. And on campus, like at LMU, there are a lot of really cool student associations that specifically cater to people from a specific region or a country, which is, always really nice to have someone you have a common background with. But even when you're interacting with people of different cultures and with the Americans, like there are no bars for us when we come to when we want to apply for on-campus employment or anything. So those are really great places to speak to students from all kinds of backgrounds and assimilate yourself with the student life over here. And speaking specifically as a film student on student sets, um, there's a great deal of attention paid to really helping you get used to a certain kind of work environment. And it doesn't matter what place you're from or what language you speak or how good you are at English even, because everybody is allowed a certain leeway to learn from mistakes.
Fantastic, thank you. And you've all kind of alluded a little bit to this already, but I'd love to hear your perspective of what it's like to live in Los Angeles, what it's like to study in Los Angeles. Fiore, could you start with that question?
Yeah. So Los Angeles is definitely a city like no other. It's very, very big, and it can easily be extremely overwhelming. I'm personally from a very small town in the Netherlands, which is already a small country in Europe. So it definitely takes a little bit to get used to it, because if you drive, you can drive for 2 hours and still be in Los Angeles. I personally don't have a car, and I haven't had one for 2 years, which is almost impossible in Los Angeles to not have a car. But there are so many international students here, and everyone struggles with that, that you'll always find someone that wants to drive you, or you have Uber. But the city itself can definitely be overwhelming, and it's a different culture. America is a different culture of its own, but Los Angeles is even a whole other different culture. So it can be hard to kind of find your people, but that's what I like about starting at LMU, because you already start out with a little bit like your little own group and of people of support, and find your way through it. But I think it took me about a year to really get used to Los Angeles and find like Los Angeles has a lot to offer, a lot of opportunity, but it doesn't come to you. You have to go to it. So, and you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. And once you figure that out, it's actually a wonderful city that has like so much to offer, but you really have to like kind of find your way through it to really see what it has to offer. It will make sense once you live here.
Thank you. Mansi, what do you think about that question?
Well, Los Angeles is so beautiful city. You can so comfortable here. And when talk about transport, I also don't have a car. I usually use public transportation and Uber, but LMU also provide LMU shuttle in the near area, so you can easily go by shuttle. It's very convenient time. You can LMU has also application, so you can track where is the shuttle is located here, so you don't have waste time. And yeah, it's a public safety, everything is good here, there is no worry. I'm living here alone without my family, with my friends, so I never had any problem about anything. My class is at night 9:30, but still there is no problem I face since now. So yes, this is cool city for new students and as well as international students. Thank you.
Great. Aditi, what do you think about LA?
So confusing as a city. Oh my God. I love it, but it's confusing and it's huge and spread out. And like Fiore said, if you don't have a car, it can get difficult to move around. I've had like this amazing luck to be able to live with my aunt and uncle over here and to an extent, they've helped me with a lot of the processes of living here, including helping me lease a car. But it was a while before I got used to like things like driving on the freeway and everything. Uh, like Mansi said, LMU does have a shuttle, but it's great for shuttling around between the Westchester and Playa Vista campuses, and it includes all the locations in between. But if you do want to leave the LMU bubble, you'll have to use Uber or the buses, which are so slow. I'm so sorry, but they're very, very slow. So you really have to plan your trips around LA. That being said, however, uh, people are mostly really friendly over here. And since there, like LA is pretty diverse as a city. So you do meet people from all kinds of backgrounds. One thing you do have to be cognizant about is that it's pretty expensive, especially if you want to live in an apartment. And there were some things that completely flew over my head when I first came here. Like you need to have someone as a credit guarantee, that kind of thing. So if you want to live here and if you want to study here, it's not just about embracing an opportunity with open arms. It's about like really planning and making sure that you plan for every single uh, plan A, plan B, plan C. Just plan for every contingency.
Thank you. And is there a favorite place that you enjoy going to, Aditi, in LA? Is there a place that you'd recommend people find out more about?
I really love the beaches here. I also like exploring the part of LA that's closer to Hollywood, because it's like really, it has a part of history that uh, LA as a city is not really known for its historical landmarks. So that area is really nice.
Mansi, do you have a favorite place to go?
Yes, I personally like beaches here and also Disneyland because I'm fan of Mickey Mouse and Minnie. So yeah, there are so many places here where you can go for hanging.
Okay. How about you, Fiore? Is there a favorite place you'd like to go?
I enjoy the beaches as well. There are many beaches, and some beaches are very dirty and others are very nice. I like the ones more up north, like Santa Monica and Malibu. But yeah, like Aditi said too, a little bit more inland, there are great places too. There's this part of LA called the Art District, which is kind of an upcoming place. And I really like to go there because there are lots of big old warehouses that they changed into museums or other art places that's free to just walk through, galleries and stuff. And it's really cool.
Great. Fantastic. So we have a question from the audience, and I'd love to hear more about when you're looking into internship opportunities or connecting with employers or things like that. Can you talk about that, that aspect of trying to find job and internship opportunities? Aditi, it seems like you're interested in talking about that. You want to start us off?
Sure. With regard to internship, with job opportunities, I'm still trying to figure out if international students can have part-time jobs. I'm not very clear on that aspect, off campus that is, but on campus you can work up to I think 18 or 20 hours a week. So you can hold down as much as 3 jobs as long as you know how to plan your hours. If I'm not mistaken, please do correct me if I'm wrong.
Can you hear me? Yes.
And with regard to internships, it's always like a gamble, and it also depends upon which discipline you're in. I can't really speak to other disciplines. I know, for example, that tech may have in-campus interviews, may not. Not really sure about that. But with the film school, it's really about kind of being resourceful and like networking and speaking to people. So, for example, I've done 2 internships so far, and both of them involved really trawling through social media and looking for posts that needed people. Or I would like look for alumni on LinkedIn and see where they'd worked and then connect with them on other social media sites, introduce myself and be like, I'm really interested in this. And so one of the internship opportunities really worked out that way, where I spoke to an alumnus of the school and they actually helped me through the cover letter and resume process. And that's how I was able to intern with Blumhouse over the summer.
Fantastic. Monse, Fiore, would like to talk about those?
Sure. Actually, LMU has a Lion job portal where you can find many jobs over there. I had research assistantship in my first semester, and this is the physical kind of interview. So I go there, and professor took my interview, and that's a fun process. But ultimately, it was so good for me. I gained many experience, a live experience, and also, for international students, it's a 20 hours work for a week, and internship you can find after 1 year. So, in January, I start internship, but as of now, I just search for internship.
Yeah, so I have also worked on campus. That's probably your best bet as an international student. It becomes way more complicated if you want to work off campus. Um, so on campus, yeah, there's the Lion portal. There are only, as an international student, you can just apply to all the jobs that are available. It has to be what they call T work. Um, and normally a job pays you between like $15 to $18 an hour. So in my opinion, that's quite a lot of money. And there are enough jobs available on campus for international students. LMU also has like an office that's called Professional Career Services, and they're always like more than willing to help people out, and you can have like one-on-one sessions with a coach, like a professional career coach, to kind of talk through like job applications, but also your LinkedIn profile or your resume, or how you're going to work towards creating a better opportunity to, after graduation, find a job in America, for example. I encourage you to go there like as soon as possible within your first year, because normally people go there way later. And as an international student, like Aditi has mentioned too, you really have to plan every single step if you want to stay in America. I personally haven't done an internship yet, but also with internships, once you find one, contact the Office of International Students right away, because you have to apply for all different visa types and more paperwork. So the earlier, like the sooner you just contact all these resources, because LMU does have these resources for you, but you have to go to them. They're not going to come to you. So just do that as soon as possible, and people are more than willing to help you out.
Okay, thank you. And it's great to hear that you've had such positive experiences with our career and professional development staff. I know they're doing some really, really phenomenal things. So we also have a great question from the audience as well, kind of speaking to some of the things you talked about already. Just the idea of what kind of connections you make with your professors and the way that you interact with them, and kind of the way that they make themselves accessible to you. So Mansi, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Professor always help to students, and also there are career fair, as mentioned. That career fair is there are so many companies involved in career fair, and LME also provide help for resume. Your each and every step about the paperwork for international student, because when you got internship, you have to do paperwork for OISS department. So yes, the professor also help to finding a connection from past alumni. So yes, you can find help in every department.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Aditi, can you talk about that a little bit? What kind of, how your relationship with your professors has been?
I was actually taken aback by how friendly and informal they can be, like in a good way. Very respectful and willing to hear students out, because in when you come from a specifically Indian culture, the automatic response is to like think of them as people who hold very senior positions in the teaching community, and to always refer to them as Professor something or Mr. something. And for me, the experience is like, oh, I can call them by their first names and I can interact with them without having all of these inhibitions. Wow, right? When it comes to them helping you out with opportunities off campuses, well, you need to be cognizant of the relationship you have with them. If it's like a mentor-mentee relationship or simply like a professor-student relationship, and you need to learn how to network with them properly in order to uh, approach these kind of talks. Because even if the interaction itself might be informal, you do need to realize that they have their own lives, and uh, it needs to be at a point where you've established a certain kind of communication with them, and then you say, could I request you to help me out in this aspect, or would you be able to offer any tips with regard to this aspect, so on and so forth.
Hey, Fury?
Yeah, I agree with both of what they said. I don't have a lot to add to that, but yeah, with it, I think the one thing that I've noticed going from undergrad to graduate school is that the relationship between professor student is much more personal and much more individual. Maybe it's because the classes are smaller too, so you get a lot more one-on-one opportunity with your professor. And I can only speak for the film school, but most of the professors at the film school, and I'm sure that's in other departments too, have experience in the industry. So it's like another great opportunity to be able to talk to someone who has already kind of gone through certain steps that you still have to go through. But again, they don't necessarily come to you, so you do have to go to them and ask them for their time. But so far, like I've never experienced teachers going beyond just teaching a class as I've had at my time at LMU. So yeah, very positive.
Great, thank you. So we have another question from the audience, which speaks a little bit of what you've already discussed, and the idea of hands-on experience. So experiences you've had outside the classroom, maybe, whether it be through research or whether, for those of you in the film school, maybe working on film sets and getting that kind of practical experience. Can you talk about that, those opportunities and how you were able to discover those kind of things, and maybe some examples of those types of experiences you've had outside the classroom? Mansi, would you like to start with that?
For internship or regarding
research or internships or things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I told you that I had a research assistant team in a machine learning and AI. So our professor is Dr. Corpusi, and she's a PhD. She's the PhD from MIT. So yeah, she's always give a good guidance for us. Actually, we research on a live tracking system that nobody can find a solution for that. So yeah, this kind of exciting opportunity for us. We learn so many things, and professor always guide us. And whenever we stuck, she like we get together every week, and we try to identify the problem and solution. So yes, a great opportunity for international student in LMU as a research assistantship, and yes, that's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Diti, any hands-on experiences like that?
I can only specifically speak for the film school. But yeah, part of our learning process is to work on student sets and sometimes sets from outside the campus. And again, while a lot of these are sort of like, we have like pitch meetings and stuff that students hold at large, so you can apply to be part of any crew. It also means reaching out by yourself, because not every opportunity comes to you. And the hands-on experience has always been very eye-opening, because there are certain things that you cannot learn in a classroom. So for example, when I first came here, I had zero knowledge of the camera. or any of how the basic mechanics worked. And it was only through hands-on experience that I learned about lights and camera and even sound, how to operate sound equipment. And all of this has helped me, and seeing other students on set and seeing people from outside work on a set, it's really helped me grow as someone who's aspiring to be a filmmaker.
Great, thank you. Fury?
Yeah. As far as off-campus connections, I think it really comes down to human connection, and it, in terms of it being related to LMU, LMU gives you the opportunity to connect with like-minded people, to connect with people that have similar interests, that want a similar career as you, no matter what department you're in. And it's what you do with those connections, including your connection with the professors and students in the undergrad or other departments, how that's going to help you connect to the off-campus world. I personally can also only speak from my experience in the film world, but my opportunities off campus have come from just connecting with people, whether it's on social media, which is like a huge thing. I have gotten so many opportunities through Instagram, just messaging people. 99 out of 100 people don't respond, but 1 out of 100 does. And no matter what industry you're in, you have to advocate for yourself. And if you do that consistently, you will. LA is a city that rewards hustle. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's all about human connection.
Great, thank you. And again, really appreciate all your candor with these responses. These have been really great. So we obviously are in a pretty unique time in that we are in a situation where the classes are virtual this semester, for example, or they became transitioned from in-person to virtual in the spring semester. I just wanted to if you could talk a little bit about that and what it's been like to be in a virtual classroom and how your professors have adapted to this new environment. Could you speak to that a little bit, Mansi?
Sure. Well, as transferred to physical class to virtual, it's difficult for us. But yes, professor do a lot of hard work for us. Like every lecture, they prepare slide for us so we can easily gain, because studying virtual is something difficult. When they study in personally, they guide us, they come with us and try to find solution. But in a virtual, it's so complicated, but still they are pretty available in the Zoom, so you can contact anytime to them. You can Slack them, you can email them, and they give prompt reply to you. But yes, it's hard to study virtually. I hope so we come back to on campus. But yes, professors do a lot of hard work for us.
Thank you. DT, you want to speak to that a little bit?
I think I sympathize with everyone when it comes to Zoom fatigue. The increased on screen and like basically screen time has really affected concentration and memory. Having said that, however, I think that the professors seem to have adapted pretty admirably. For example, there are some classes that require a certain software or they involve learning a software. And I think they've learned how to sort of teach a class through Zoom without making it too difficult for the students with regard to access and everything. However, when it comes to the film school, a great deal of learning depends upon how practical the classes are. And so, yeah, it has been difficult to shift online. Um, I think I speak for most film school students when we say that, we've had a lot of missed opportunities. Me, for example, I was supposed to make a thesis film this semester, and that plan was totally scrapped. And Fiore's had to take a leave of absence because she's in the cinematography discipline, and those students have also had to sort of really rework their schedules accordingly because their discipline is so practical. Uh, But I think on the whole, given how the situation has completely turned itself over on its head, I think people have adapted pretty well. I just really sympathize with anyone who feels tired after looking at a laptop screen for like more than an hour.
Sounds good. Fiore, would like to mention anything about that?
Yeah, so I have taken a leave of absence this semester, so I'm not currently in Zoom University. But from what I know from last semester, when everything suddenly switched online, um, I was in a cinematography class, which is all practical that can just not be taught online. So instead, our professor invited a lot of industry professionals to join the Zoom class and answer any questions and kind of talk from their experience, which are things that wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. So I think they're like, I know they're trying, like all professors are trying their best to make this work. There's just nothing, at least in like the film school, since it's such a practical program, there's nothing that can compare to the in-person classes. But professors do try to make it work and also give you something out of this that wouldn't have happened if Corona didn't happen, so that you can still like benefit in some way.
Great. And so you've mentioned a little bit already about the Office for International Students and Scholars. I wonder if you could talk a little more about that, about your interactions with that office and how that's helped to foster community amongst the international students as a whole. Can you talk a little about that, Fiore, about your experiences with OISS?
Yeah, so I actually was a graduate assistant for the office last semester, and that's when I really got to know the advisors that work in the office and what they really stand for. They do a lot for the international community at LMU. I also went to undergrad in America, and I had very bad experience with the international office there. They never send an email out about paperwork that you had to fill out or anything. And here they create events for international students. They create all these opportunities to connect with other international students so that if you arrive in LA all by yourself and you don't know anyone, that you have the opportunity to meet people right away. They're also very, from my experience, very helpful with individual cases. They really treat you like an individual and not just as another international student or another LMU student. They know who, if you are there often enough, they know who you are. And if it's just your first time, they try to get to know you. And that personal connection works very, very well.
Fantastic, thank you. Mansi, would you like to talk a little about that experience with OISS?
Yes, I can say that OISS is the best department for international student because they track every information for you. Like for instance, my passport is expired before 2 months, and they tracking each and every step for you, like which in what time you have to renew your passport and tracking all the process. So you don't have much worry about that. And as an international student, there are so many things you don't know about in the USA. So they give a good response to you, and they are pretty available for you. You can meet directly and you can do Zoom meet with them. So yes, OISS department is quite good for international.
Thank you. Aditi? Oh.
Sorry, I would answer it. The dog is barking really loudly. Relax. Sorry, he just got really triggered by movement outside. Yeah, with regard to YSS, I have to agree with both Fiore and Mansi. This is my first time studying in the US, but the department has on the whole been really supportive. And I think it's admirable how they track our documents and our progress. For example, when I first came here, there was a kind of a snafu with my I-94, where for some reason it was saying that I was on the tourist visa, but I was really here on a student visa, and then obviously I freaked. But OISs were, even though they were the ones who notified me first, they were helping me with options and looking up resources and everything, and things worked out thanks to. And they've always been really on point with reminders, whether it comes to travel signatures or updating your details online. And when it comes to employment off campus, also they've been providing like really robust webinars and packets of information that you can access. And internships, for example, you need like 5 days for your documents to be ratified by OISs, and they've never missed a deadline or anything. So that's been really nice.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much. So we're actually reaching the end of our time here together. And so again, just want to thank you so much for all of your time with us, and you've been a phenomenal panel. I know that we have a few questions that we have not had a chance to answer today. So I apologize for that, but we're certainly welcome to in the future. I'll put in the chat here to everyone. If you are having specific questions about the application process or the admissions process, I encourage you to contact international@lmu.edu, and I'll be happy to follow up with you about those questions. And so I guess the one last thing I'd like to ask our phenomenal panelists today is just think about if you were, think about maybe a couple years ago for some of you who were still considering coming to LMU, what's something that you really want to make sure that people know about your experience at LMU? Maybe something you haven't mentioned yet, but something that really has been important about your experience at LMU that you want to make sure that people remember. Mansi, you want to go first?
I think when you go outside of your country, first thing you have to remind like your housing, because you have to know about the route and it is far from the university or not. Because I personally I'm living very near to LMU, so it's good for me to travel. But the people like say Ph.D. that she's living so far, so it's so complicated for her. And yes, another thing is please communicate with the international department and YSS, because there are so many things you don't know about resources that provide LMU, like the shuttle I know after 3 months. So it's good if I know in the starting period, so I cannot face so many problems regarding it. There are health department also provided by LMU that they can help in each and everything, like sociology. If you find a loan or something in your head and you disturb by yourself, so they're gonna help you and they're trying to solve your problem. So yes, there are so many things you first remind before you come to.
Okay, thank you. Aditi?
Yeah, I have to agree with Mansingh. I think when I first came here, whatever documents were related to housing, I think you should definitely have that in order. I also think you should research the kind of documents you must always keep in hand when you're an international student, which is your I-20, your passport, your I-94, which certifies the kind of visa you're on when you entered the States. And with regard to LMU, I'm not really sure. I feel like we talked about everything over here. Just be really up to date with all of your paperwork and everything. And if you have any issues, like maintain a constant communication with OISS, because they really do help with a lot.
Thank you. Fiore?
Yeah, I agree with both of them. The only thing I have to add is don't be afraid to ask. I think, especially as an international student, you can quickly think, oh, this is a stupid question. Oh, this is dumb. I can figure this out on my own. But it's so much faster and easier if you just ask, because OISS is always there to help and answer questions, but also other international students. It's like, if whatever your issue is, what you may have, someone else has already gone through it. And among international students, we all know the struggle. So we only like to help other people. So just ask for help.
Okay.
And also we have a GS LMU department available. So this is a bridge between you and your professor. Like you know anything about your course or anything, you can contact GS LMU. Like every department has a mentor and you can talk with them and gain many information. So yeah, I just reminded about GS LMU.
Okay. Well, again, I just want to thank you so much, Fiore, Mansi, Aditi. This has been wonderful. You've really gotten a lot of really great perspectives here. And so thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And thanks to all of you in the audience for joining this panel as well. I just want to reinforce that the next event here will be the graduate student welcome, which will begin here in about 10 minutes. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we very much appreciate your interest in LMU. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you so much to our phenomenal panelists once again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.